Night fell without warning. The still air seemed to hold a breath the whole world had forgotten. No one noticed it at first. A slight change in the light, a subtle vibration in the trees, a silence heavier than any noise. But something up there was awakening. At 1 minute to 12, a glow began to form behind the clouds. It was neither lightning nor dawn. It was a wound in the sky. The clock stopped for exactly 1 second, as if time itself wanted to listen. Then a voice, soft, maternal, impossible to forget, pierced the air and spoke to the souls who were still keeping vigil. "My children, do not fear, but do not sleep either. Heaven has decided to speak." The sound didn't come from any specific place. It was heard inside their chests, in their bones, in their memories. Some ran to the windows, others closed their eyes and wept without knowing why. It was her. She didn't need to introduce herself. The world recognized her tenderness and her power in that same sentence. November 23rd will mark the boundary between mercy and blindness. 3 nations will be touched first, not for punishment, but to awaken. Then silence. A silence so profound that even the dogs stopped barking. In the days that followed, news reports spoke of unexplained atmospheric phenomena and electrical noises in the sky. But in humble hearts, Mary's words burned like a small flame that refused to go out. Mothers began to pray the rosary with a devotion they hadn't felt in years. Children asked why the stars seemed to move. And everywhere, someone murmured the same date, November 23rd. That morning, in a small, forgotten shrine, an old woman lit a candle. The wax trembled and the flame curved eastward. She understood without words that the message was true. The warning had come, and with it, a promise. There was still hope. During the following days, the signs multiplied. A river changed color for hours. In another region, birds migrated in the opposite direction. Science sought explanations, but ordinary people simply said, "Maria is crying again." And she was crying, yes. In the image of a small chapel by the sea, glistening drops fell from the Virgin's eyes. The incredulous witnesses touched the glass. It was salt water. No one could deny what they saw. "My tears are not punishment," the voice whispered that night. "They are warning and love. Whoever understands them will know how to protect their own." The message spread like wildfire. Men who had never prayed began looking to the sky before going to sleep. Women lit candles outside their windows, fearful yet serene. Everyone awaited a second sign, something to confirm the impossible, and it arrived. On November 19th, a strange moon appeared, not red, not white, but with a golden halo that pulsed like a heart. The astronomers fell silent. The believers wept. And in the ensuing silence, the voice spoke again, closer, almost breathing among the shadows. "November 23rd will be a night of decision. Many will not listen until heaven speaks loudly. But you who hear now, prepare your soul. 3 countries will be put to the test, and their faith will be light or darkness to the other nations." The words didn't bring fear, but a strange mixture of peace and trembling. No one knew which countries those were, and yet everyone felt singled out. In the mountains, a shepherd saw a luminous cross shining among the clouds. In the city, a nurse awoke to a heavenly melody that repeated a single word, "Come back." On a southern beach, the waves drew a shape in the sand that many recognized as a spread-out blanket. Everything pointed to one truth: Maria was present. As the date drew nearer, the clock seemed to run slower. The days grew heavy, as if the air held secrets. The temples filled with people, the bells rang for no apparent reason, and the more sensitive among them felt a chill each time the sun set. "Heaven does not seek to frighten," the voice said for the last time that week. "It only desires that you love. But where there is no love, the earth will tremble to remind you of it." No one knew if it was a warning or a promise. The only certainty was that the world no longer slept the same way. The 23rd was approaching. That night the sky didn't breathe. The air had a strange weight, as if the whole world knew something was about to be said. The bells of a distant village rang without anyone touching them, and on the horizon a light began to form. Soft at first, but impossible to ignore. It was a living, pulsating clarity that came neither from the sun nor the moon. The eyes that gazed upon it grew moist, without understanding why. And then, within that painful silence, a mother's voice descended upon the earth. "My children, time waits for no more. The day is drawing near, and with it, the great warning. On November 23rd, the heavens will speak, and 3 nations will hear before all others. It is not punishment, it is a calling. It is not an end, it is a beginning." The message traveled through the air like an invisible breath. Those who were sleeping felt a shudder. The elderly awoke weeping, not knowing why. In the hospital, a nurse saw the clock stop precisely at midnight and a white flower bloom by itself in the window. The news didn't appear in the media, but the rumor did. In every house, the date began to be repeated like a prayer. November 23rd. The following days were different. The birds changed their routes. The wind carried a murmur that wasn't wind. In the temples, the incense rose more slowly, as if something sacred were watching from above. Maria still didn't speak, but her presence was felt in every breath, in every glance directed toward the sky. A child said he saw her on the sea, with her cloak spread out and tears falling into the water. Another child, thousands of miles away, described the same face. The priests doubted, the scientists scoffed, but the common people understood. It was a warning, and mercy was still available. Every night the voice returned, not with human words, but with feelings that pierced the heart. "Do not fear," it said, "but awaken. There are 3 countries under the gaze of heaven. Their lands will be shaken so that the world may awaken. And if you pray, the pain will turn into light." On November 20th, a signal shook the entire sky. A line of fire crossed the atmosphere in absolute silence, and for 3 minutes, night turned into day. Many fell to their knees, others felt guilt, some felt a peace they had never known. Tears flowed uncontrollably, for it was as if an invisible mother were caressing the faces of her lost children. Mary spoke to the heart, not the ear. She said that humanity had filled the earth with noise and pride, and that her voice must be heard once more before time closed. She asked for prayer, she asked for love, she asked for silence. She promised that whoever heard that call would have no fear when the heavens opened. The air grew heavier as evening fell on the 21st. The streets seemed empty. Some felt physical pain, others a profound energy that compelled them to gaze at the sky. No one could explain it. In the mountains, the rocks vibrated as if they held an ancient chant. In the cities, electronic clocks displayed impossible numbers. Everything indicated that something supernatural was approaching, invisible yet real. That night the Virgin appeared again. Her voice was a whisper that touched souls with tenderness and urgency. "I have not come to destroy," she said. "I have come to warn. Heaven will no longer be silent. The 23rd will be the day when every heart will know which side it is on. Do not fear if the lights go out. Fear if your faith does not shine." All of humanity was being watched. The elderly prayed, the young searched for signals on their phones. Families gathered as in ancient times. No one said it aloud, but everyone knew something big was about to happen. The air smelled different, a mixture of incense and electricity. And in the midst of that waiting, in a small northern town, a priest received a vision. He saw 3 flames suspended above a map, one in the west, one in the center, one in the south. Each burned with a different intensity. The 3 merged into a point of light that ascended to the sky, and in that instant, the voice spoke again within his heart. 3 countries, 3 trials, 1 single hope. The priest fell to his knees, realizing that the message wasn't just for him, but for everyone. He rose, his hands trembling, and wrote a letter. The warning cannot be stopped, but it can be understood. If we pray, the fire will purify without destroying. If we remain silent, the darkness will advance. Meanwhile, in other parts of the world, the same words were being heard by people who had never met. Mary was weaving her invisible web of prayer, uniting scattered hearts in a single purpose. Each lit rosary was a spark against the shadow. Each tear offered a seed of protection. The 22nd dawned with a pale sun. No one spoke loudly, as if the noise might shatter the air. The clocks ticked the hours with unbearable slowness. In the churches, the candles burned without being consumed. The children asked why the Virgin was crying, and the mothers answered that when a mother cries, it is because she loves too much. The sky darkened before nightfall. It was neither a storm nor an eclipse. It was the prelude. The breeze died down, the animals hid, and an immense peace fell upon the earth, a peace that was not of this world. At that moment, Mary spoke once more. The warning has begun. Those who have faith will see the light. Those who do not believe will feel the tremor. And the heart of the world began to beat faster. No one could stop what was already written in the sky. All of humanity held its breath, awaiting the dawn of November 23rd. The night of November 22nd became unreal. The air was thick, charged with electricity, and a gentle tremor ran through everything, as if the world were breathing in fear. Clocks stopped for an instant that no one could measure. Then a bell rang in the distance, but no human hand had touched it. It was the first sign of the warning. A voice emerged from the impossible silence. It was sweet and powerful at the same time, unmistakable. It was Maria's voice. "My children, there is no time left. This warning is not meant to frighten you, but to awaken you. The heavens are bowing down to the earth because the darkness has advanced further than you can imagine. November 23rd will be the day when many eyes will see what they have denied." The words weren't heard with the ears, they were felt. They entered hearts like light, filling them with a tremor that was half fear, half hope. People began to emerge from their homes, gazing at the sky that vibrated with a supernatural clarity. Some fell to their knees, others wept. No one could explain what was happening, but everyone knew that something sacred was taking place. In a remote monastery, the monks were praying in silence when the candles went out on their own. Darkness enveloped them, but a bluish light emanated from the crucifix. The figure of the Virgin Mary appeared in the air, weeping. "There are 3 nations that will be touched first," she said, "not to be destroyed, but to be purified. They will be the mirror in which the world will see its reflection." At that same hour, thousands of miles away, a humble woman awoke with a start. In her room, a gentle breeze stirred the curtains, and the scent of roses filled the air. A voice whispered to her, "Pray for those who still do not believe. Heaven loves them, but time is running out." The whole world began to feel small before the weight of the mystery. News reports spoke of auroras crossing the sky in places where they had never been seen before. Animals behaved strangely, and in the temples the silence became thick, as if the walls had ears. Mary continued speaking to their hearts. "Do not fear the coming fire. Fear the hearts that do not love. This warning is my final call before the great change. 3 countries will bear witness, and through them, humanity will understand that heaven still reigns." The tension was unbearable. Humanity was caught between faith and doubt. In villages, vigils were organized. In cities, people prayed in front of screens. Science remained silent. No one could deny that something unknown was approaching. As midnight struck, a shower of light covered the earth. The stars twinkled brightly, and a murmur echoed through the fields, the seas, and the mountains. It was a living sound, like a prayer uttered by all of creation. And in the heart of every human being, a certainty resonated. The Virgin was present. "My voice will be heard in every corner," he said. "The 23rd will not be the end. It will be a revelation. Those who love will feel peace amidst the trembling. Those who ignore my voice will know the weight of silence. In an instant, the city lights began to flicker. Some thought it was a blackout, but it wasn't. It was the prelude. The world's electricity was yielding to the energy of the sky. The night of the warning had begun, and no human being would ever be the same again. The early morning of November 23rd began without a sound. The wind had stopped, the clocks struck the same time over and over, and even the animals remained still, staring at an invisible point on the horizon. No one knew exactly what was waiting for, but everyone felt it. Something immense, something that came from the sky, was about to manifest itself. In the churches, the candles burned without being consumed. The faithful prayed with rosaries between their fingers, while the air grew thicker, as if the whole world were holding its breath. In a small mountain church, the priest felt the ground tremble slightly beneath his feet. He ran to the door, and looking up at the sky, he saw a line of light crossing the firmament with an almost sacred slowness. It was neither a comet nor a shooting star. It was a trail of fire that left a golden echo in the air. At that moment, the voice returned. It wasn't coming from a loudspeaker or from within a human mind. It was deeper, more real. It was Maria, speaking to the soul of the world. My children, the day has come. I have interceded until the very last second, and the Father has allowed me to touch the earth with my voice. Do not fear, but do not close your eyes either. There are 3 countries that will be tested tonight. In their lands, the sky will leave a sign so that humanity may awaken. The words spilled like light over the houses, the rivers, the fields. Many didn't understand their language, but they grasped the message. It was universal, transcending languages. It was the voice of a mother suffering for her children. On the news, anchors stammered, trying to explain the phenomena. Compasses spun uncontrollably, airplanes reported unidentified lights, and security cameras captured flashes in the sky that came from no known source. But the strangest thing was the collective feeling, a mixture of fear and hope that coursed through people's bodies like an invisible current. In a humble neighborhood, a woman gazed at the sky, embracing her children. She didn't know how to pray, but her tears spoke for her. "Mother, if you're up there, protect them," she said. At that moment, a warm breeze drifted through the window and the youngest child smiled in his sleep. "Don't be afraid, Mama. Our Lady is here." In the southern mountains, an old farmer saw the mist form a female figure with a shimmering cloak. The image remained motionless for several seconds and then vanished into thin air. The man fell to his knees and repeated the words he heard within his chest. "God has not forgotten the earth." Meanwhile, the date kept ticking by. It was already November 23rd, and midnight was drawing ever closer. The tension in the air was palpable. Electronic devices began to malfunction, lights flickered, and a deep hum resonated, as if the heavens were slowly opening. "This is the day that was foretold long ago," the voice whispered. "Do not look at the fear, look at the light. The warning is not punishment, it is mercy. But to understand it, the heart must be cleansed." There was a flash so bright that the shadows vanished for a moment. Everything was covered in white. Many thought it was the end. But the radiance brought not destruction, but an immense, almost supernatural calm. Those who were kneeling felt a warmth in their chests, a presence that enveloped them with tenderness. It was the Virgin, walking among the souls who still believed. "Heaven allows me to speak to you once more," he said. "The tears I have shed on earth are not in vain. Each one is a seed of forgiveness, but humankind has forgotten how to love. That is why heaven will open, so that love may once again be at the center." On the coasts, the sea receded a few meters, exposing the seabed, and then gently returned, as if obeying a divine command. In the mountains, the trees bent with a creak, and the leaves rose without a breath of wind. Everything responded to the same pulse, to the same invisible energy descending from the heights. Believers wept, unbelievers trembled. No one could deny what was happening. Mary's tears, invisible to the naked eye, fell upon humanity like drops of fire that purified without burning. Each one touched a different soul, awakening forgotten memories, broken promises, dormant faith. "Heaven does not close tonight," the voice said. "It opens so that men may see who truly loves them. But remember, love without repentance is empty. Return to God. Return now." The glow slowly faded, leaving behind a heavy silence. People emerged from their homes, gazing at the sky, searching for answers. What they saw was a cloud like a blanket spread across the continent, and beneath it, a light moved from north to south, illuminating 3 distinct regions before disappearing over the horizon. No one understood its meaning yet, but something told them that that light, the one that touched 3 lands and then rose, was not the end, but the beginning of the greatest message the world would ever receive. And as dawn began to paint the sky on November 23rd, Mary's voice whispered one last time before fading into the winds, "Where faith endures, the land will flourish. Where love awakens, my mantle will cover." The warning has been given. The dawn of November 23rd broke with a different light. It wasn't the usual clarity of daybreak. It was a radiance that seemed to emanate from within the sky itself. The sun hadn't yet risen, but the entire horizon glowed with a golden light, as if the night were reluctant to leave. The birds weren't singing, the clocks weren't keeping accurate time, and for a few seconds the whole world seemed to stand still. In the streets, people walked in silence. No one knew what to expect, but everyone felt that something sacred had descended during the night. Some remembered words heard in dreams, others gazed at the sky, searching for that light that had moved from north to south. The most sensitive wept without knowing why. It was the presence of Mary still hovering in the air. A woman in Bogotá, upon opening her window, saw 3 white doves flying in a circle, and then disappearing westward. At the same moment, in a neighborhood of Mexico City, an elderly man knelt upon smelling a rose perfume so intense it filled his room. Thousands of miles away, in a church in Buenos Aires, the bells began to ring on their own without anyone touching them. Everything happened simultaneously. No human explanation could connect these events, but heaven could. The message spread silently. Mary was speaking through signs. She didn't use words, but gestures of nature. "I have touched the earth," she whispered in the hearts of the faithful. "I have wept over 3 nations, and my tears will be a light for those who repent." The churches were filled. People who hadn't prayed in years lit candles, asked for forgiveness, and embraced strangers. Priests heard confessions tirelessly, and children asked if heaven had truly opened. The fear wasn't the same as human fear. It was a trembling of the soul that knew eternity was near. In the north, the sky began to take on a soft red hue. In the south, a blue mist enveloped the mountains. In the center, a shower of shimmering particles descended like golden dust. 3 distinct signals at 3 points on the continent. No one understood yet, but the message remained. That afternoon the voice was heard again, not through the ears, but within the silence. "The world thinks that power is in the hands of men, but truth comes down from heaven. I have warned out of love. Do not fear the pain that purifies, fear the heart that does not feel." The words resonated with a force that pierced the walls. Those who heard them felt a deep warmth, a mixture of comfort and urgency. Some fell to their knees, others simply wept. Maria asked for nothing impossible, only prayer, faith, and a true change of heart. That night, as the sky darkened once more, the lights of several cities began to flicker. It wasn't a complete blackout, but a constant flickering, as if the very power itself were trembling. In those dim seconds, many swore they saw luminous figures crossing the air, moving smoothly through the shadows. Others heard a song, a distant sound with no apparent source, a melody so sweet it brought even the most skeptical to their knees. In that atmosphere, Mary spoke for the last time that day. The warning is underway. Heaven will not stop until humanity awakens. 3 countries will carry the light first, for their tears will be the seeds of hope. But before dawn on the 24th, the whole world will know that I was among you. The words spread like an echo. Children dreamed of a woman dressed in blue, stretching out her arms. The elderly felt their hearts lighten, mothers prayed, gazing at the stars, and men who hadn't believed began to look to the sky with reverence. At midnight, the wind blew fiercely, and the clouds parted in 3 directions. A single light emerged from each cloud, rose, converged at a high point in the sky, and then slowly descended upon the continent. Those who witnessed it could not describe it. It was neither fire nor lightning. It felt like pure love, like a celestial caress. The earth trembled, not with destruction but with life. Animals rose up, plants seemed to straighten, and the air smelled of rain and flowers. It was an instant, but it was enough for thousands to understand. The message was true. When the calm returned, the sky remained with a soft glow, as if someone had left it on. No one wanted to sleep. Families reunited, strangers embraced in the streets, and in the churches prayers mingled with tears. Mary had touched the earth, and her warning could not be ignored. The following dawn brought no traffic noise or loud voices. Only the murmur of those who said they had felt something divine pass through them. And deep in each soul remained the same unanswered question: what will happen now that the heavens have spoken? The dawn of November 24th seemed to hold a secret. The sky had an odd clarity, as if it still held the glow of the previous night. People awoke with moist eyes, with the feeling of having dreamed something they couldn't recall. Everywhere there was an unusual calm. Church bells rang more slowly, birds circled, and in the churches candles continued to burn since dawn without having been consumed. The world had felt the presence of the divine, but no one yet knew the full purpose of the warning. Some believed the worst was over. Others knew deep down that the true message had not yet been revealed. At that hour, as the sun rose over the mountains, Mary spoke again. Her voice did not come from the visible heavens, but from the depths of the human soul. It was as if the air itself breathed with words. Heaven has visited the earth, but the human heart remains divided. A part of the warning still needs to be fulfilled. The 3 countries marked with my light will receive the greatest test, the test of their faith. On the news, journalists tried to understand the strange phenomena that had occurred during the night. No one dared call them miracles, but neither could they deny them. There were reports of lights descending in the shape of a cross, photographs of auroras painting a blue blanket across the sky, and testimonies from thousands of people who claimed to have felt a maternal presence enveloping everything. While the world argued, the humble prayed. In small towns and large cities, spontaneous prayer chains formed. People gathered in squares, lit candles, shared bread and silence. No one led anything. It was as if a single impulse moved them all. It was the call of Mary, which needed no noise to be heard. Those who love must not be afraid, she whispered, but those who have closed their hearts must open them now. This warning is not over. Its meaning will be understood when faith is put to the test. As the day wore on, the weather began to change suddenly. The sky became covered with dark clouds in regions where it never rained, while in other areas the sun shone with unusual intensity. There was no balance, as if the earth itself were responding to a higher power. Scientists looked at satellites without understanding anything. The faithful, on the other hand, gazed at the sky and whispered, "Mary is speaking." In a humble chapel, a young woman named Elena felt a presence behind her as she prayed. She turned slowly and saw a luminous figure that cast no shadow. She felt no fear, only a profound tenderness that brought her to her knees. "Tell them to pray," said the voice. "Tell them not to be distracted by what the world will show. The greatest signs will not be in the heavens, but in hearts." The young woman wept, not fully understanding. Outside, a group of people watched the sky. The clouds formed a perfect circle, like a crown. No one could explain it. Everything seemed guided by an invisible hand. That same afternoon, as the sun set, the sea began to churn with unusual violence. Waves rose and fell without any wind. The fishermen left their nets, watching with fear and reverence. On the shore, an old man prayed silently, a rosary in his hands. He said the sea was answering the call of heaven, that the whole earth was praying. As night fell, the sky turned a deep violet. At that moment, Mary spoke once more, but this time her voice felt closer, more human, as if she were walking among men. The heart of the world is sick with pride. I have come to heal it not with fire, but with truth. But for there to be healing, there must be tears, and those tears will fall upon 3 lands, not to destroy them, but to cleanse them. The air vibrated with his words. Many felt an intense heat in their chests. Others heard whispers like distant singing. It was the prelude to the next step of the warning. The test was not over, and the heavens continued to watch. November 24th slowly faded, and the darkness of night once again spread across the land. No one slept soundly. Everyone awaited a new sign. Mary's voice had promised that the 3 chosen lands would be the first to understand what the heavens wished to reveal to the world. And although their names were not yet known, something in the air indicated that the revelation was near. The following night arrived with an even heavier silence. The wind did not blow, the leaves did not stir, and even the rivers seemed to have stopped flowing. The entire world was still, as if awaiting an answer. From the sky, a light gradually ignited, first faint, then brighter, until it covered the horizon. It was not a dawn, nor a thunderstorm. It was a golden radiance that pulsed like a heart. Those who remained in prayer felt the air grow warm and a presence slowly descend. The clock struck midnight, and a soft but authoritative voice spoke again. The warning continues. Do not think it has ended. There are still hearts that have not understood. The tears I have shed will fall upon 3 beloved lands, and through them the whole world will know that love still reigns. At that moment, a slight tremor ran through the earth. It wasn't an earthquake. It was like a deep breath coming from the ground. People looked around, confused, and when they looked up, they noticed that the stars were twinkling differently, forming lines that crossed the sky. Mary spoke in the midst of that light. Do not fear the trembling, fear the blindness. Faith will be the bridge that keeps you standing. The nations that weep first will not be abandoned. They will be my mirror. In them, the world will see its reflection. In a village, an old woman fell to her knees and exclaimed that she saw the shadow of the Virgin's mantle spreading across the continent. Those around her looked up and saw a luminous figure cover the sky as if a celestial veil were embracing the earth. The crowd began to pray aloud, and the heavens responded with a radiance that ignited their hearts. Meanwhile, in the big cities, electronic devices malfunctioned, traffic lights went out, and telephones stopped working. It was as if an invisible force had suspended human technology so that only silence could speak. In that silence, many heard the same phrase within their hearts: there is still time, but time is short. Scientists spoke of magnetic anomalies, but no one could explain why. In hospitals, the machines that had stopped would start up again, just as someone began to pray. Believers understood. Heaven was acting, not to destroy, but to remind. That morning, in a secluded monastery, a monk wrote a sentence in his notebook without knowing why. 3 tears will fall, and where they touch, new life will spring forth. He didn't understand the meaning, but he knew it didn't come from his own thoughts. As the hours passed, the feeling of anticipation grew stronger. The air seemed to hold thousands of prayers, all directed upwards. In the temples, incense rose in spirals, and many swore they saw luminous figures moving among the columns. There was no fear, but rather a mixture of awe and compassion. Maria continued to speak, not through words, but through signs. Clouds formed hearts that slowly dissolved, flowers bloomed out of season, and in some places invisible choirs could be heard singing melodies no one recognized. Everything conveyed the same message: heaven was touching earth. "Each of my tears," the voice said, "is a call. I have wept over 3 beloved lands. They will be a light in the darkness, but also a mirror of human suffering. Through their faith, other nations will see what they must change." Hearts trembled. On the coasts, the sea began to shimmer with silvery reflections. In the mountains, a soft mist enveloped the roads. In the cities, children awoke crying, saying that a woman had embraced them in their dreams and asked them to pray for the world. None of it appeared in the news, but people felt something invisible uniting them. A quiet murmur swept across the continent. No one yet knew which nations would be the first to receive the touch of heaven, but everyone sensed that the time was near. The day dawned clear, but the sun had a different glow, whiter, purer. The birds flew in the opposite direction, and the air smelled of damp earth even though it hadn't rained. It was the prelude to mystery. And while the men tried to understand what was happening, Mary's voice was heard once more. "Tears have been shed. Where love is greater than fear, light will prevail. Do not expect signs of destruction, for the warning does not seek to raise, but to awaken. But when faith trembles, heaven will speak again." The words dissolved into thin air. The world fell silent once more, but nothing was the same. In the hearts of millions a certainty burned. Heaven had opened its eyes, and the names of the 3 lands touched by Mary's love would soon be revealed. The early morning of November 25th dawned without songs, without wind, without laughter. The streets were bathed in a grayish light that seemed to come from nowhere. People walked slowly, their eyes fixed on the sky, fearing that the silence would be broken again by that voice they longed to hear once more. The air smelled of incense, earth, and fresh water. No one spoke loudly. Everyone knew that something still stirred in the unseen realm. In the churches, the priests celebrated Mass without music. Only the murmur of prayers could be heard. In a corner, an old woman wept as she recited the rosary. She said she had dreamed of a woman dressed in light who told her heaven is looking down and the final call is yet to come. On the news, images showed inexplicable phenomena: a light descending upon the sea, a shadow covering mountains and disappearing, a glow drawing across the fields. Some called it coincidence, others a sign. But for those who had heard Maria's voice, it was the warning that remained alive. In the mid-afternoon, the sun set prematurely. A sudden darkness enveloped the villages, and fear returned, not as terror but as reverence. People looked at one another, waiting for someone to explain what was happening. Then, a warm breeze swept through the air. The lamps went out, and a white light began to shine from the eyes of the images of the Virgin Mary everywhere. The people fell to their knees. It wasn't a collective vision. It was pure presence. Mary was there, invisible, but more real than ever. "My children, I haven't finished speaking yet," her voice said. "Heaven watches how men decide. 3 lands will be touched first, not as punishment, but as grace. They will show the world what it means to believe in the midst of the trembling." The ground trembled once, deeply but gently. The church bells rang on their own. No one knew if it was an earthquake or a miracle, but everyone felt peace. The air was filled with the scent of flowers, and amidst that fragrance, Mary continued speaking. "The warning that began last night will not stop until love is stronger than fear. Do not expect destruction, expect conversion. Every tear I have shed has fallen in a chosen place, and in those places new light will be born." In a convent, a nun had a vision. She saw 3 columns of fire descending from the sky, each one falling on a different land. They didn't burn, they illuminated. On each column was a face, and behind the faces a heart that shone with the intensity of the sun. The woman wrote down what she heard within herself. Mexico, Colombia, and Argentina will be the flames that ignite the faith of the continent. But she showed what she had written to no one. She kept it silent, knowing that the moment to reveal it had not yet arrived. That night, the wind began to blow strangely. It wasn't a breeze, it was a song. It came from the north, crossed the continent, and vanished in the south. Those who heard it said it was choirs, disembodied voices, as if the sky were praying alongside humankind. People went out into the streets with candles, raising their hands to the heavens. Tears fell, and fear dissolved. "Every heart that prays is a flame," Mary said. "Do not let them go out when the trial comes. The 3 chosen countries will feel my presence strongly. They will be a sign for others. Do not be afraid, for from their pain will spring hope for all." The message traveled through the air unheard by anyone. Children felt it, the elderly understood it, and mothers sensed it. There was no noise or artificial light, only the certainty that something sacred was touching the earth. At midnight, a flash crossed the sky and multiplied in 3 directions. No one knew if it was a star or a tear. The sky opened like a vast expanse, and an immense light covered the continent. People embraced strangers, prayed aloud, and begged for forgiveness. It was the quietest and, at the same time, the most vibrant moment in history. And as the radiance began to fade, Mary's voice spoke again, more tender and firm than ever. "You already know that the love of heaven has not disappeared. Soon you will understand everything. Do not fear the darkness that will come, for where my mantle is spread, the night will have no power. Continue praying, continue loving, continue hoping." The world stood still once more, its heart pounding between fear and hope. The date that had begun with mystery had not yet fulfilled its purpose. The warning remained, and the sky, ever watchful. November 26th dawned with a new silence, a silence that neither hurt nor was at peace. It was the respite after the tremor. The streets seemed cleaner, faces softer, children more attentive. No one could explain what had truly happened, yet everyone remembered it as if heaven had touched earth with an invisible finger. The newspapers spoke of auroras, electromagnetic discharges, and unprecedented atmospheric phenomena. But in temples and homes, people spoke of something else: the love they had felt, the warmth in their hearts, the tears that fell without sadness. Science could not measure that, because it was not matter, it was spirit. Mary was still present. Her voice, no longer audible, could be felt in the small things, in the breeze that stirred the curtains, in the different shimmer of the water, in the eyes of those who prayed without knowing why. In a hospital, a terminally ill patient awoke without pain. In a prison, the inmates spontaneously knelt and began to sing the Ave Maria. In a school, the children asked to pray before starting class. Something invisible united them, a thread of faith that wove together the entire continent. In the mid-afternoon, the sky clouded over once more. This time there was no fear. It was as if the sky itself wished to rest. But within that calm, a small group of people in different parts of the world heard the voice again. It was barely a whisper, but clear. "Do not be distracted. The warning has not ended. The hearts of men will be tested once more. 3 nations bear the mission of upholding the faith. Through them, the world will know what it means to love when everything trembles." In a chapel by the sea, a fisherman laid down his net and fell to his knees. In his mind, an image formed, 3 drops of light falling upon a map, one to the north, one to the center, one to the south. He understood without words that these were the same lands touched by the mantle of Mary. That night, while the world slept, small but intense things began to happen. In the north, bells rang without human intervention. In the center, the waters of a river shone, as if they held within them the reflection of a living moon. In the south, a luminous cross appeared on a mountain and remained there for minutes before vanishing. Cameras captured part of the phenomenon, but the recordings were mysteriously lost at dawn. In the silence of that early morning, Mary spoke again. "I have asked the Father for more time for you, and it has been granted. But that time is short. People must decide between pride and compassion, between vanity and faith. The tears that fell on 3 lands were not of punishment, but of purification. What will be born after them will be new, if you allow it." Prayers multiplied. Many returned to the temples. The priests said it was as if the soul of the continent had awakened. In every corner of the world, someone was looking west, hoping to see the shroud again. Some witnesses claimed that in dreams, Mary appeared to them weeping, but her tears were of light, and each tear became a seed that fell to the ground. Where one fell, a white flower sprouted. No one could see her with their eyes, but everyone felt her in their soul. At dawn, the voice returned one last time on the winds. "I have touched 3 lands, and through them I have touched the heart of humanity. The final sign is still to come, and then the world will know. Do not fear. Love is stronger than the night." The date had already passed, but the feeling of anticipation remained. The men had changed, the women gazed at the sky with tenderness, and the children without understanding played, saying that the Lady of Light was watching them. The warning was not an end point, it was the beginning of something yet to be revealed. Mary's mantle remained spread, invisible, covering the countries where her voice had left the promise. The air was filled with hope and trembling. The world breathed more slowly, as if it knew that the greatest thing had yet to be said. November 27th dawned with a sky so clear it seemed endless. The air smelled of fresh rain, even though it hadn't rained anywhere nearby. The world moved slowly, as if walking on sacred ground. No one said it aloud, but everyone knew that something sacred had happened, something that couldn't be measured or recorded, but that continued to beat within every soul that had felt it. The preceding days had left their mark. Families who had argued before now prayed together. Temples, usually empty, remained open even at night. News reports spoke cautiously, unable to explain what people already understood without words. The warning had not been a threat, but a call of love. However, Maria's voice had not yet faded. In many places, whispers could still be heard in their sleep, soft phrases that seemed to come on the wind. "The heavens have not finished speaking," she said. "The step of truth is yet to come. The 3 chosen lands must be beacons, not for their power, but for their faith. When the world looks upon them, it will see its destiny reflected." That afternoon, a strange phenomenon swept across the continent. From north to south, a line of light slowly crossed the sky, visible even in bright sunlight. It was neither a meteor nor a cloud. It was a bright thread that seemed to connect 3 invisible points. People ran from their homes, raising their hands, weeping, praying. Some fell to their knees, others simply watched in silence. The energy felt was so powerful that clocks seemed to stop for a few seconds, and birds formed patterns in the air as if obeying a signal. At that moment, Mary's voice was heard for the last time before the revelation. It didn't sound in individual ears, but in the collective heart of the world. "I have walked among you. I have wept with you. My voice will not disappear, but the time of the warning is coming to an end. The 3 nations that have been touched will be a mirror for the continent. Your sorrows, your hopes, your tears will show the world what heaven desires to heal. I have not chosen you by force, but by faith." The words spread through the air like an invisible perfume. In homes, mothers embraced their children with tears in their eyes. In hospitals, the sick closed their eyes and smiled. In the streets, strangers greeted each other with respect, as if recognizing one another for the first time as part of the same family. Meanwhile, high atop a mountain, an old shepherd gazed at the sky. He saw 3 columns of light descending slowly, and touching three distinct points on the horizon. He couldn't explain what he saw, but he understood that what was happening was the prelude to the final revelation. The earth trembled gently, and the air filled with a sound like singing, an immense chorus that came from nowhere and everywhere at once. All of humanity felt something in their hearts, not fear, but an immense clarity. The soul seemed to remember something forgotten. In capital cities, in towns, in the most remote places, everyone felt the same. A loving presence enveloping the planet. "The mantle is spread out," Mary whispered. "Do not see it with your eyes, but with your heart. Through three nations the light of heaven will touch all the others. Do not judge them, do not fear them. They will bear the weight of awakening, and their faith will be the torch that keeps love burning when all seems dark." After those words, absolute silence enveloped the world. The wind stopped, the waters became still, and for a few seconds, the entire planet seemed to breathe as one. Then, slowly, the sky began to fill with a white glow that spread in all directions. Many thought it was the end, but it wasn't. It was the beginning of understanding. Mary's voice was no longer heard, but her presence remained alive in every glance, in every gesture of love, in every prayer uttered with faith. That night, while humanity slept, one last sign appeared. In the skies above the continent, three stars aligned, shining brighter than all the others. And whoever saw them understood that the heavens had just sealed their promise. The warning was complete, and the final revelation was about to be uttered. On November 28th, dawn was so bright that many believed the heavens had decided to draw closer to the earth. The clouds were thin, almost transparent, and the air was heavy with a fragrance no one could identify. In the streets, people spoke in hushed tones, still marked by the days of signs, visions, and silences that could not be forgotten. The world had changed. The temples remained open, the prayers continued, and the echo of Mary's voice still resonated in the collective soul of the continent. But something was missing, something everyone felt without being able to name it, the full revelation, the ultimate meaning of the warning. That early morning, as the stars faded, the sky spoke again. A line of light slowly descended on the horizon, and a gentle presence was felt everywhere. It wasn't fear, it wasn't sadness. It was immense tenderness, a certainty that someone, high above, was still watching over humankind. "My children," said Mary's voice, "I have been with you from the first tear to this last word. My mantle covered the earth, and three of your nations were the first to feel the weight of my love. They were not chosen for their power or their wealth, but for their faith, their wounds, and their hope. They have been chosen to teach the world that it is still possible to rise when all seems lost." A profound silence followed those words. The light that covered the sky split into three paths that extended across the continent, each illuminating a different direction. Then the voice continued. "Mexico, land where my name has been spoken with love for centuries, you will be an example of prayer and resilience. Colombia, land of tears and forgiveness, you will show the world that faith can be reborn from the ruins. Argentina, land of noble heart and strong voice, you will be a bridge of reconciliation when nations are divided." The whole earth seemed to tilt. Many fell to their knees upon hearing the names. Some wept with relief, others with astonishment. But no one felt fear. It was as if those words had restored meaning to the chaos of the world. "My tears have touched your soil," Mary said, "and each one has become a seed. Where there was pain, comfort will spring up. Where there was darkness, light will be born. Do not think the warning is over. The time of conversion has only just begun. The three chosen lands will be beacons for others. Your trials will not be punishment, but a path." As he spoke, the sky filled with white reflections, like flakes of light slowly falling. Those who saw them said they weren't snow or dust, but tiny sparks that dissolved upon touching the skin, leaving a feeling of peace. The children called them tears from the sky. "Pray," the voice urged. "Do not look with fear at what is to come, for every heart that remains in faith will be a refuge for others. Heaven does not forget. I do not abandon. Every prayer you utter will be one more stone on the path that will lead you back to love." The lights began to fade. In their place, a golden glow lingered over the continent. It was Mary's mantle spread one last time, covering Mexico, Colombia, and Argentina. No one spoke. Only the wind could be heard, like a grateful sigh from the earth. At dawn, the three countries awoke to the same clear skies. In each one, in different temples, the same miracle was repeated. An image of the Virgin Mary began to weep, but the tears were not of water, but of light. The cameras could not fully capture them. Each attempt to record the phenomenon ended with white screens and soft sounds, as if the sky did not wish to be captured. The faithful prayed for hours. There was no panic, only gratitude. Everyone understood that the message was not one of destruction, but of awakening. Mary had fulfilled her promise. She had warned the world not to punish it, but to save it. That night, the sky shone one last time, and the voice was heard for the last time, sweet, firm, infinite. The warning was love disguised as a caution. Do not forget what you have felt, for days of decision will soon come. But do not fear. Wherever you call upon me, I will be there. Where you pray together, I will be present. And when the sky speaks again, may it find you awake. The whole world fell silent. Then, slowly, the sound of the bells spread from the mountains to the sea. People raised their hands to the sky, and on millions of lips was uttered the same name, Mary. The warning had ended, but its echo would live on in every soul that heard it. And as the sun descended upon the continent, a sense of peace enveloped the land, as if the heavens at last had found rest in the hearts that had awakened.